I'm used to, but that's perfectly fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Good morning. So how have you been? It is so good to be with you all, and I love that you all find each other so fascinating. It's wonderful to see you visiting with one another. So in a moment, we're going to light our chalice and begin, but I just, you know, I've been serving you for a year, but let me say, I am the Reverend Justine Sullivan. For those of you that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, it is just, I mean, this is what we've all been waiting for. So I'm so delighted that we could be together, and now we will light our chalice. As Tobin lights our Unitarian Universalist chalice, let us call to mind that all around this country and all across the world, people are lighting chalices like this one, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. The flame reminds us of the divine spark that dwells within each of us and connects us to each other and to all of creation. Let us be together in worship.
Good morning. My name's David Q, and I am the chair of the Board of Trustees here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick, and it's wonderful to see you in person. So this morning as I was leaving the house, Diane said to me, you have pants on. And I thought to myself, well, for the last 18 months, there have been days when I'm on a video call at home with sandals and shorts, and so maybe that's what she meant. And so I cocked my head and I said, I have pants on? And she said, no, you look handsome. So you all look handsome too. It's great to see you all. Before we get started, I want to remind you of a few things. This service is being broadcast live, so while many of us are here in person, some of us are with us virtually also. And if you're choosing to be here, we ask that you wear a mask at all times while you're in the building. And if you have any symptoms of COVID or have not been vaccinated, we ask that you watch virtually, although you're here already. So. Coffee hour today will be virtual at 1 o'clock. There was a message sent out yesterday that had the link to that and the link to the service, so feel free to join us then. And I guess what I'm implying there is don't linger after the service. Please get yourself outside. We're trying to keep everybody safe. So, and I think that is all I have to remind you. We're not going to be singing today. There will be music. And I guess one more thought. If you have a cell phone, you may have forgotten, but turn it off or make it quiet right now. So today is September 12th, 2021. Our service will be led by our interim minister, the Reverend Justine Sullivan, and the sermon is titled, Something Happens When We Gather.
Something happens when we gather. I feel like I could just stand here and smile at all of you for the hour, and that would be enough. I promise I will avoid that urge, but you look wonderful. And David mentioned that we are live streaming this. This is very exciting. So the people at home are watching this now live. So if you're concerned for whatever reason about being on camera or having the back of your head on camera, then I would urge you to sit in the back and on the edges. But for those who are willing, I think it would be lovely if we would turn to the camera and wave to the people at home. That is a very good sign that you are willing to do things that I ask you, even if they're a little silly. We may be doing the hokey pokey before too long. That is. Our opening words this morning are from the Reverend Hannah Roberts Villeneuve. The storm is passing over, the hymn says. Accept, accept, accept. The storm has not passed over just yet, has it? Here, for this moment together, we rest in the eye of the storm. We gather not as a changed people, but as a changing people. Here in the eye of the storm, the calm, common center, the place where the pressure reduces, where the winds die down, we are finding one another, near and far, in new ways of being together again and again and again. We gather not as a changed people, but as a changing people. At once we find an empty seat and a new face. We see new gray hairs and yet others who have grown 5 inches taller than when we last met here. New lines of worry are on our furrowed brows, visible on the Zoom screen or above a mask. We gather not as a changed people, but as a changing people. Looking up the walls of the cyclone, we see towers of clouds and rain and wind held up around this hour by the forces of circling chaos, because the storm has not passed over at all. And so we gather not as a changed people, but as a changing people. Here in the eye, the pressure goes down, the winds die down. Perhaps we glimpse the sun, comforted even as we know that this pause is temporary. We take a moment together, a breath, to join together again. We gather not as a changed people, but as a changing people. Changing, breathing, being, knowing that this is but a moment, grateful beyond measure for this moment. Let us worship together.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open
I had to leave that in. So that was different. That was different. But you can see the joy in their faces singing together. So I'm grateful, Heidi, to you and to the choir for being creative and willing to find a way to make a joyful noise and to share that with us. Thank you. And this is a time for appreciation. We think about all the people that have worked so hard over these last 18 months to make church continue to happen. I say the church was not closed, the building was closed, but the church, the work of this congregation continued. And today and in the following weeks, we're going to say thank you to some people. And I want to begin with our Board of Trustees. And if you would rise in body or spirit as I call your name to be acknowledged. David Q., our Board Chair, Catherine Cuffey Chase, our Vice Chair, and they're going to come forward and help with the thank yous. And also, if you're here and you would just be acknowledged, Cindy Parker, our Treasurer, Bill Clark, our Clerk. I always want to say Bill Clark, our Clerk. Sienna Doty, Jessica Tracy, Rebecca Waddle, and Glenn Williams. We thank you for your leadership.
This is very strange indeed, but we'll manage, I'm sure. Okay. You can all hear me, right? You all know who I am? Like Cuffy Chase, here I am. Okay, first of all, our appreciation and thanks go to our interim minister, Reverend Justine Sullivan. Justine has been with us. Wait, hold your applause. Throughout the pandemic, and has been a part of every facet of the processes necessary to make sure this UUCB community did not falter. She provided active participation when needed and stepped back to provide passive participation when that was more appropriate. No doubt, her interim ministry here will remain a part of both her memory and ours for many years to come. Thank you, Justine. Now you can applaud. We have many committees, one of which is the Worship Committee. So Pat Moore and the Worship Committee have done an amazing job of making sure that engaging and high-quality worship happened every week. During these 18 months of living with COVID, we did not miss a single Sunday service. Mary Larson served with Pat as co-chair during the last church year, but has stepped down to serve on a ministerial search committee. Would Pat and the members of the Worship Committee who are present please rise in body or spirit so we can acknowledge you. Thank you. And of course, we couldn't have worship without music. Our deep thanks go to our choir director, Heidi Neufeld, and the choir. Would Heidi and the members of the choir who are present please rise in body or spirit so we can acknowledge you. Thank you. We thank pianists Derek Hertzer and Grace Lewis McLaren, who was playing this morning, and all the guest musicians who have shared their gifts with us. And we thank Stephanie Bernier for serving as music coordinator for many years, including all these months of the pandemic. She is now stepping down as well to join the search committee. And last, but definitely not least, where would we be without Judd Caswell and his amazing, amazing family? Marcy, Eleanor, and Sam, thank you. Thank you all for being here.
And meanwhile, behind the scenes, through these many months apart, the Pastoral Care Committee, led by Julie Dahmer, and the Caring Network, led by Penny Elwell, remind us that we're not alone. They provide meals, visits, rides, cards, talks, walks, and caring for all of us. Julie and Penny, would you and the members of your team please stand up for a minute to be recognized? Thank you all.
So Tobin and I are going to lead a meditation on water with some assistance from some technology. I have this little gizmo called a looper pedal that lets me record sound and add layers of sounds. There will be a part for you, which Tobin will explain, and we'll also include a recording from our choir. So this is a multimedia meditation.
So this morning, we are going to create a storm together. And I have a couple of hand gestures and movements that I'm going to have you do. And when it comes to that part in the meditation, you'll sort of see me start and you'll follow along with what I'm doing. So I'm going to change it up partway through, so keep your eyes on me, but not too closely because I spilled coffee on my shirt this morning. So, all right, so the way that we're going to start off is just by rubbing our hands together. And then we'll move into snapping, if you can snap. And then we're going to gently pat our legs together. So these are the movements that we're going to use as we do our meditation. Keep your eyes on me, but not too closely.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a stream. Row, row, row your boat, gently down the row your boat, gently down the row your boat. Merrily, 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 gently down the stream. Gently down the stream, gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a stream. Merrily, 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 gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a stream. Merrily, 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 gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a stream. Merrily, 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 merrily,
Our meditation this morning draws from the words of Lao Tzu, an ancient Chinese philosopher and writer and founder of Taoism, which focuses on finding balance. Lao Tzu writes, "Water is soft and yielding. Water, but water will wear away rock, which is rigid and cannot yield.
Wasn't that a mighty
As a rule, whatever is fluid, soft, and yielding will overcome what is rigid and hard. This is another paradox. What is soft is strong.
Good morning. Takes a little adjusting here. I'm Joel Austin, a member of your pastoral care team with the Joys and Sorrows for the day. Barbara Jabot writes, with remote work because of COVID, our son Peter and wife Julie were able to move to Maine. They both found good new jobs in Maine and are now in the process of building a house in Durham on land we gave them next to us. We look forward to them as neighbors in this next year. Susan Paluska joyfully welcomes her new granddaughter, Lucy Ann Tyrell Paluska, born on August 25, to Megan Tyrell and Peter Paluska. Faith Woodman writes, Hugh and I are in Santa Barbara where we are renting a house next to our daughter, her husband, and our 2 small grandchildren. It is such a joy to be in such close proximity to them. We will be here until the end of October when we drive back to Maine with our 14-year-old golden retriever. We look forward to seeing all of you in November. Faith and Hugh. Someone wrote, I am about to become the mom to a monarch butterfly, if all goes well. Michael Michaud celebrated his 70th birthday on 9/11, taking a walk in the woods on the Catons River. The joys. Now the sorrows, both a sorrow and a joy. Jean Lay writes, I want to thank the Pastoral Care Committee for all of their well wishes and offers of help as I'm starting treatment for colorectal cancer. The positive thoughts have meant a lot to me. Right now, my husband Carrie and my son Nathaniel are home and taking excellent care of me. If we need help down the road, we will reach out to the committee. If you wish to share concerns or sorrows in a more individual way, or if you know someone who may need pastoral care, please seek out a pastoral care associate after the service. We have light blue ribbons on our name tags, and we will be glad to listen and help.
Let us enter into a time of meditation or prayer. Spirit of life and love, we are grateful for connections. Grateful for connections in this community of faith, grateful for connections with family who are able to move to where we are or welcome us to where they are. We're grateful for the ability to welcome new life into our extended community. And we're so very grateful for the care that we can offer one another in this time of continuing uncertainty. May we remember that we are held in love. May it be so. Amen. Blessed be Ashe. You know what the presence of these baskets means. This congregation, this very building, exists because you and those who came before you made it so. They understood that there must be a Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick, and you continue to make it so by sharing your gifts of time, of talent, and of treasure, the fruit of your labor. So in the spirit of gratitude and appreciation, the morning offering will now be gratefully received. I knew this was going to happen. If they're not steamed up, they're caught in the loop. We are truly grateful for the sharing of these gifts. When I was a chaplain, I did some training as a chaplain and then worked as a chaplain. This is part of my preparation for ministry. I served in a hospital that was largely Catholic. And one of the most important things to the patients there was that they be able to offer their confession to a priest before they died. That was very important. And sometimes that just couldn't happen. And I talked about it with my supervisor, who was himself once a Catholic priest, but he left the priesthood to marry a woman who had been a nun. It's a wonderful story. And he said to me, God forgives us when we're sorry. And that was so helpful to me, and it was so helpful to be able to offer that to patients for whom that was the most important thing, really at the center of Christianity. If you think about it, both Catholicism and Protestant Christianity is the idea of forgiveness. Are we forgiven? In Judaism, really at the center of Judaism is the idea of covenant. Covenant with God, however you understand God. Think about the Ten Commandments, right? It's written that Moses received the Ten Commandments from God, and that was a way of honoring a covenant with God. But this is the thing. The way that you honor your covenant with God in Judaism is in caring for one another. And that's why I think there's such a wonderful resonance for those who have a background in Judaism and kind of a humanist perspective, right? Those two things go together. However you understand the holy, you honor that by living your values in the world and how you care for one another. Now, what does that sound like to you? To me, it sounds a lot like Unitarian Universalism, right? How we are together is at the center of who we are as a faith. And we find ourselves in one of the holiest times in the Jewish calendar. We're like right in the middle of the days of awe, the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And it is said that during those days, the book of life is open, and we are invited, really called to examine our relationships and heal what is broken. And so I'm going to start, and then I'm going to encourage us all to engage in this ritual. And if you're not comfortable doing that, you can sit quietly. That's fine. But I think there is real power in this. So I want to say to you, I have been your interim minister now for a year, and I've certainly been working hard and have done some good things, but I know that there are ways in which I have fallen short. Priorities that you had that I didn't quite get. Times when I maybe didn't call you or reach out to you as much as you would have wanted, some way in which I missed it or fell short. And so I want to say to you, to each and all of you, for any injury I may have caused to you or anyone else, I am truly sorry. And so I would invite us into that ritual with one another. I'm going to invite you in a moment to turn to your neighbor and say those words. For any injury I may have caused you or anyone else, I am truly sorry. And if that's just not your cup of tea, just maybe sit with your hands on your lap and close your eyes, and maybe you can do kind of your own assessment of your relational world. This is a very important part of my spiritual practice. I probably need to do it more than once a year, but at this time of year, I do stop and think about where are there ruptures that I might try to heal. I think there is almost nothing sweeter than the sound of a sincere apology. So as we do this with each other, it's representative of all the relationships in our lives that are important to us and which might need healing. So let's take a few moments. If you're comfortable, turn to your neighbor and say those words, and I will just wait for us to feel like we're done. For any injury I may have caused you or any other person, I am truly sorry. And to the people at home, I hope that you are joining us in this ritual, and let me say to you, for any injury I may have caused you or any other person, I am truly sorry. I'll go ahead. Service of this time of year in the Jewish calendar, we also say the Kaddish and remember those we have lost in the past year. And so Tobin and I are going to read the list of names of people that we have lost at this UUCB since we were last together.
Gar Roper,
Reverend James Bradbury Brad Mitchell,
Martha Lentz,
Nina Trumper,
Jesse Jacks,
Barclay Palmer,
Raymond J. Siegler Jr., husband of UUCB Administrator Shirley Bernier,
Martin Seavey,
Milena Stimson,
Elizabeth Bates,
Val Heath,
Albert Baxter Moore. We remember them. And if there are others, people that I may have forgotten, which I hope I didn't, or people in your lives, just call out their names and we will hold them with you. People that we've lost since we were last able to gather. Cliff Oles. Raymond J. Shinhofen. Carrie Bluth. Sally Kerrigan. Nadine Lowe. Andreas. Jean Townsend. James Croft. Jonathan Aldridge.
Sylvie Markowitz,
Sylvie Markowitz. Nancy Pinkham. Lisa Siegel. Harold Siegel. Patricia McClelland. Judith Montgomery. John Lothar. Margaret Doobie. Jay Stintler. Marguerite Kelly. We hold them in our memories with love. Amen. always manage to put my order of service, no matter how many I have, in the wrong place. Is reflection next? It takes a village. Oh, we have a song. Wait, no, there's more. No, it is, I was right. Sorry, can you back that up? I am next, yeah. You can tell I really have this down. It was a beautiful day yesterday, just like today, just like that Tuesday 20 years ago. A clear blue sky, a warm sun that reminded us that summer wasn't ready to leave just yet. And then, you know what happened next. All of us who are adults today remember where we were on that day, how we heard the news, 2 planes, no, 3, no, 4, the last one full of heroes who fought back against the hijackers and prevented further calamity. And many of us went home that day and were frozen in front of our TV sets, watching in disbelief as the planes hit the towers, unable to look away, as if the story might change. There must be some mistake. We learned that day that we in the United States are not invincible. That even though we are mighty, we are also vulnerable. And certainly in this time of the pandemic, we are aware of our vulnerability. Our heart aches all these years later for those who were lost on that day, September 11th, 2001. Some 3,000 people died instantly on that day, but many first responders and other folks who lived and worked nearby experienced significant illness from the toxic smoke and ash that arose after the buildings fell. One woman, the Reverend Dr. Hope Johnson, a UU minister, a friend and colleague of mine, was serving a congregation in New York City at that time, and she went down to Ground Zero and ministered to people for days and days. And she suffered a serious lung injury which plagued her for nearly 20 years until her death last year from that illness. I attended an online memorial service for Hope last week, and I was reminded of her sacrifice and of the sacrifice of so many others, those who ran into the buildings trying to help those who were trapped, those who stayed by the side of those who were grieving, putting themselves at risk. Yes, there is evil in the world, but there is also compassion, a true desire to help, and love. Our UUA president, Reverend Frederick Susan Gray, offered these words in a recent statement in recognition of the 20th anniversary of the attacks. Grief, we make room to experience you not as suffering, but as a reflection of our enduring love for those who died, and our compassion for the families and loved ones remembering and mourning on that day. Just as we included here a recitation of the names of those we have lost during the past 18 months, each year people gather in Manhattan, at the Pentagon, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, to speak the names of those we have lost and of those whose memories live on in us. May we always remember, and may our memories be a comfort to us and to all who mourn.
Kumbaya.
Thank you, choir. Again, I quote Reverend Susan Frederick Gray. Choosing love, choosing empathy and compassion is not a passive path. We need organizing, agitation, protest, because people's lives are on the line. And at the foundation of our work must be an ethic of love and compassion that seeks not to destroy those we oppose, but to redeem each other and our future. Let us go forth from this place and choose to bless the world. Peace and love to you. And thank you, Grace Lewis McLaren, for your beautiful music. Friends, I'm sorry, could I have your attention for one more moment? You know, if I don't write it down, I want to say a special thank you to Glenn Williams for his leadership during this year. He found an interim minister, he dealt with the departure of Sylvia, and all this pandemic stuff, and he has just been an incredible leader, and I thank you, Glenn, for your leadership. And I'll see you on Zoom for coffee hour. Go home.